Hi, I'm Yossi. Some of you may have seen my video for Jeff Tate's Frequency Unknown rant contest. I figured it was only fair to also post a video review of the new self-titled album from the other Queensrÿche. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I feel I should specify that I firmly believe that this is the band with the legitimate claim to the name. I think it's pretty clear-cut. They have the majority of founding members. There's no reason I can see why they don't deserve this over Jeff Tate. But with that being said, I also believe that these are separate concerns. I've never been one to let my opinion of a band or their past material affect my opinion of the album that I'm listening to at the time. I feel the music has to speak for itself, and that's how I've approached the album. So, with that being said, let's get on with it. Now, I got my copy in the mail last Wednesday, even though it doesn't technically come out till Tuesday. The record company shipped it out soon enough that they could be sure everyone would have it by the release date, so a lot of us got ours a few days early. Now I got the deluxe version. As you can see, I got the bundle that came with the shirt and also the poster, which hasn't arrived yet. Now, this deluxe version has a lot of extra goodies, and I definitely think it's worth the few extra dollars. It's got 3 live bonus tracks of the band's current lineup performing some classic Queensrÿche material, and I really think they knock all 3 of those songs out of the park. The band plays phenomenally, as usual, and I'm sure the point that most people are going to be focusing on, the new vocalist, Tate. I think he does a fantastic job with all of those songs. He really nails them. He captures them, honestly, better than I think Jeff Tate could these days. As I said, there are a lot of other goodies too. Comes with a guitar pick and a sticker, which I haven't done anything with yet. It also includes a patch and a few pins, which I've already attached to my bag, which is where I put most of my patches and pins and such. And the fact that I've seen fit to attach them to my bag should tell you that I do like this album a good bit better than I like Frequency Unknown. So what is my opinion of the album? Honestly, I think it's a good album. It's not necessarily a great album. I think that when we look at this album like a few years down the road, with a few more albums released by this lineup, regardless of whether they release them under the name Queensrÿche or under some other name, I think what we'll look back on this album as being is a big step in the right direction that wasn't quite a full return to form, but laid a lot of the groundwork for a return to form that will hopefully come an album or two down the road, once they're more comfortable writing in this style again. Now, what is the style of the album like? I don't think it's exactly retro. I would say this album sounds like what I would imagine Queensrÿche would sound like today if they'd continued in the direction of their last few quality albums, instead of taking a dive into radio rock mediocrity with Here in the Now Frontier. I think if they had taken the style, it feels like they've taken the style of those albums before Here in the Now Frontier and sort of amalgamated them and taken it into 2013. Now, I'm sure a lot of people will ask about the new vocalist, Tate, and how he did, and I think he does a great job on this album. I think he finds a great balance between sounding enough like Tate to be reminiscent of that aspect of Queensrÿche's classic sound, because while I certainly don't think Tate was the entire band or the core of the band's sound, he was definitely an important element. And I think Tate finds a good balance between sounding reminiscent of that and incorporating other influences and doing his own thing. So he doesn't sound like just a Tate clone. Now, the other band, they're back to doing what they were doing back in the 80s and the early 90s. They're really rocking it. A lot of the elements of the classic Queensrÿche sound that we haven't heard in years are back in full force. So, with that being said, why do I say this album is good but not great? There are still a few songs, and I'll mostly single out Vindication and Don't Look Back here. There are a couple of songs that they sound a bit too generic. They're not bad songs necessarily, but they don't really sound much like Queensrÿche songs. There's not that much to identify them as Queensrÿche over, you know, a dozen other random power metal bands. Like I said, not bad songs, just not great Queensrÿche songs. The rest of the material, I'd say, does sound, to varying degrees, a lot like Queensrÿche. Several of the songs just instantly evoke the Queensrÿche name, and then there are a couple that you won't necessarily scream, "This is Queensrÿche," as soon as you hear them, but you can hear the Queensrÿche sound all through them. Now, I'm not going to go track by track. Oh, my other criticism, before I get to the couple of really good moments I want to point out, and I've had this criticism since it was originally released, would be the chorus of Redemption. I've just never been able to get into it. The verses are strong, definitely sound like Queensrÿche, but that chorus is just jarring. It's too poppy, it takes me out of the song. I've listened to the song a number of times trying to see if it would grow on me, and I guess it has to some extent, but still not to the extent that I really could consider this a song I fully like. I'd say it's probably the weakest on the album because of that chorus. It's just... I can't get into that chorus at all, and I think it drags down the rest of the song. But enough with the negative, let's focus on a couple of good songs. As I said, I'm not going to go track by track. I will briefly point out, with Where Dreams Go to Die, I think... I mostly want to mention that this was written by the new guitarist, Parker, and I think it really proves that Parker deserves his place in the band. He definitely knows how to write material that just screams Queensrÿche, because this song does in every way. I'm sure most of you have heard it since it was one of the pre-release singles, and it's just a fantastic song. Other songs I'd like to single out would be In This Light, which I think has the strongest chorus on the album. The chorus was actually included in the preview clip that was released several months ago, and I thought it was the strongest point in that preview clip, and it's every bit as strong here, though it's not, the song that it's in isn't as heavy as I had expected from the preview clip. But with that being said, it's still a great song, especially that chorus, but the whole song. I actually think this would be a strong choice for a radio single if any of the band members are watching this. I've played it for a few friends who aren't metalheads, not familiar with Queensrÿche, and they've all said that it was a good song, and they singled out the chorus as the best part of it. Granted, I'm not necessarily the best judge of what could get radio play, since I pretty much hate everything that's on the radio, but I do think that this song could get some substantial radio play. So I would love to see this released as a radio single. The other song I want to single out is A World Without, which I have to say is quite possibly the most haunting song I've ever heard from this band. It sounds like something off of Promised Land, only darker and more brooding, and it's just a fantastic song all throughout. Quite possibly Todd's best vocal performance on the album, especially in that chorus. His vocals just give me chills every time, and it's just a fantastic song. I would love to hear more in this vein on future albums. So, final thoughts. Well, I'd say, like I said, I like the album, but I think that down the road it's going to be seen as more important as a stepping stone than it will be seen as a great album in its own right. I mean, as it is, I do like the album. I've listened to it several times, plan on listening to it a lot more times in the future. If you're considering getting it, I strongly recommend picking it up because it is a strong album in its own right, just not quite the full return to form that many were hoping for. But this is about what I expected, and it lived up to and even exceeded my expectations. I mean, it's not the best comeback album ever to be released featuring a new vocalist, and honestly I wouldn't even cite it as my favorite album released so far this year, but it is still a strong album that I definitely recommend picking up. So that's about all I've got. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.